too, but we'll start, now. We'll call the meeting to order. The invocation tonight, and the leader of our pledge will be, Chris Elliott. Chris?
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, God, we thank you, Lord, for your grace and your forgiveness. God, we ask you right now for your wisdom. As God, we do the people's business, Lord. Heavenly Father, God, we ask you to lead, guide us, and direct us in our decisions that we make tonight. God, we ask you to be over everybody that's included in this room here tonight, and all the directors and those that do the county's business. And we just thank you, Lord, for your grace. And we thank you for these wonderful men and women who I serve on with this board. And we ask you to comfort them and guide them in their daily decisions. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank everyone for attending tonight. First item will be recognitions. Hal Ruth, is Hal here? There you go. You representing the Council on Chambers here tonight, so, all right, our next recognition will be Ron Bellini, Will Fulbright. You wanna come up and, lead this one?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, this evening we wish to recognize Davidson County Senior Services own Ron Bellini. Ron was recently honored as a recipient of a state award in March. Each year, the North Carolina Association on Aging selects 5 recipients for excellence in the field of aging awards. During this year's conference, held on the grounds of the Biltmore Estate in Nashville, Ron Bellini, Nutrition Program Assistant Manager for Davidson County Senior Services, was awarded the Shining Star Award. The Shining Star Award honors an employee for the quality of direct service they provide to older adults in the community, and candidates must be frontline service delivery workers. The board stated that Ron's dedication to sustaining the Meals on Wheels Loves Pets program after grant funds were no longer offered won them over in the selection process. Ron's tireless commitment keeps the needs of the aging population at the forefront, and his servant leadership truly exemplifies the charge of providing more than just a meal. The Shining Star Award winner, Ron Bellini.
Get away that easy. You gotta get your picture taken. Congratulations.
Thanks for everything you do for Davidson County. Thank you.
Just in time for the picture.
All right.
Here, she's gonna take a picture.
Hold on just a second.
Like my suit and tie.
Over this way. There we go. I've got everyone face. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Yes, wonderful.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One other thing, if I'm not, I don't know if it was stated, I'm getting old, don't hear well sometimes. There were only 5 of these awards throughout the state presented, so he was one of 5 people in the state of North Carolina, so.
Good job.
Great job.
Ron, thanks for everything you do for Davidson County. You're doing a good job. Okay, now, if you haven't registered for public address and you want to address us in just a few minutes, you can still got time to sign up here. First item on the we have is the adoption of the agenda. Due to the length of some public hearings that we have on the agenda tonight, I am requesting that all the public hearings be moved to follow the deliberations Also, I think Mr. Childress has requested that agenda item 8G, which is approval of agreement with Costco Office Systems, be removed from the agenda. It will be placed on a future agenda. I think that's the only items that I've moved a couple of the proclamations around, that's about it. Are there any other changes to be made to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would ask if item 10C, which was a closed session for attorney-client, if that could be removed from the agenda, please.
Okay,
10C,
10C,
yes, sir.
okay. Are there any other changes, or, all right, can I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I make a motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, got a motion second, if you'll vote.
Could I get your vote? Hey, Commissioner Crop, could I get your vote, please?
There it is, sorry.
Go through that time?
No,
Wow, I get to vote 3 times?
okay. Let's see if it'll pick up on the next one. I went ahead and, I know what the vote. And that motion carries 7-0.
Oh, there we go.
Next item, public address.
Mr. Chairman, only Mr. Hill signed up.
All right, Mr. Hill.
All right.
Hill, you can go ahead. Sure, he's the only one. Yeah.
You removed what? What did you remove? What did you remove from the agenda?
The office system thing in the consent agenda. Coeco office systems
Oh,
from the
okay.
consent agenda.
Agenda item 8, hotel. The agreement with Lamar was supposed to be attached. It wasn't. I now have it, but it's not an agreement in the sense we usually think of agreements. It's mostly an invoice for $3,750 of billboard space. I asked Jana Walker what the message on those billboards would be. She said, vaping is not risk-free. You don't have a policy on vaping. The health department shouldn't have a policy on vaping. There will be a lively debate on vaping, but it's just getting started. I have a policy on vaping. Vaping wouldn't exist if the government hadn't been persecuting smokers for the last 50 years. Give Nanny a rest.
Is that in our agenda?
So that ends our public address. Next item on the agenda is that'll be our consent agenda. We have quite a few items there listed. Is there any items that need to be removed from consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, I don't know if we need to remove it or just alter item E.
E,
Yeah, you have, the, Fort York Wilcox Bridge Committee, and it's actually titled the Yadkin River Park Committee. We have changed, am I correct on that?
I can make that revision,
Do we need to change it, or are you good?
make the revision based on your suggestion.
okay, so we'll make that change.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Reluctantly, I ask that, item 8H be pulled for discussion.
8H. Everybody grab their phone, that wasn't mine, was it?
Chairman, that was mine.
Okay.
The
I thought it was mine.
The penalty.
Well, we have a proclamation tonight for random calls like this. I had them call in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the amended agenda.
We got a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
Second, that, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion and a second, if you cast your vote.
That vote that time.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay. And what item was it?
8H.
8H. Approval agreement with,
I'm sorry.
that wasn't my phone,
I
was
forgot
it?
to turn the timer off, no, I'm sorry. That's what happens when the 3 notes is up.
Must be a break.
Okay, approval of agreement with
Hey,
Lamar
it-
for
it is
antitrust
what it is.
and youth smoking, Michelle?
Mr. Chairman, my concern is this. I'm not sure about the effects of vapes. I am sure about opiate abuse. And if we're gonna spend this kind of money, I think we need to prioritize those billboards for better use than to talk about something we're just totally not sure about. I mean, that's a lot of money. If we're gonna sit advertising, then we need to start incorporating these billboards as an educational tool, if anything else, and start alerting people to some of the concerns our society is suffering from with opiate abuse. And I think vapes are far below what opiate abuse is, the effect that abuse has on our society. And that's just my opinion, and that's how I feel, and that's the reason I pulled it.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
I'd have to agree with, Commissioner Shell. I think we also have child abuse problems here in this county that rank far ahead of, vaping, I feel like. We need to get, if I was gonna put a billboard out there, it'd be something, you know, with the opiates or the child abuse or something like that. Know who to call, know what to look out for, so I'm in agreement.
Mr. Chairman. Casey, I don't see Lillian out here. Is she here? Oh, there you are. You're hiding. Lillian, if you could come up, 'cause this is Department of Health. Is this correct? This is the Department of Health's asking for this, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there stipulations on these funds?
Yes, sir. This is a grant from the state of North Carolina for $3,750 directly to, help with, youth smoking initiatives. A billboard targeting, anti-smoking for youth is one of the, acceptable expenses. There's nothing else we can spend this money on except anti-youth smoking. So,
What happens if we don't spend it on this billboard?
it will go back to the state and they'll reallocate it for anti-youth smoking in some form or fashion, but we don't have to take it in Davidson County.
Okay.
Other counties, are using it for similar things.
Do you have to use it? Okay, I know the anti-youth smoking, but could it say anti-youth smoking and opioids and child abuse? Can it do other stuff as well?
We have to get approval. We have a consultant from the state. His name's David Willard. He works for the state of North Carolina and he covers our region. They have regional specialists for, tobacco, so we'd have to get it approved from him. The first artwork, as Mr. Hill stated, it was not attached because we were still trying to figure out what the artwork would be. The first, suggestion had actually using a vaping device, and we did not want to advertise that on a billboard, so we sent that back, and we're just trying to work that out right now.
Okay.
Is the smoking, is it specific to tobacco? Does it specifically call out tobacco? 'Cause you know, you smoke a lot of marijuana. They smoke a lot of crack.
Oh, yes, sir.
And, you know, vapes is way on down the list for me when it comes to the vices that our youth are subjected to. And my question is, does it specifically name tobacco?
The grant is from the tobacco branch at, Department of Health and Human Services. The billboard is targeting vaping because that's where we're seeing the increase. Data shows that children are smoking less cigarettes and they're actually, using more vaping products. So that's why as the health department, they would allow us to, target vaping. But it comes from the tobacco branch and they are equivalent in their mind. So I don't think marijuana would get past them, or crack or anything like that. I don't think that would be an acceptable use because they are the tobacco prevention branch.
To me, and I understand what you're saying, and this is not your call, I understand that. What I mean by that is you have to go by the guidelines that's set forth and respond to that grant.
Yes, sir.
And that's what your request is, and I understand that.
Yes, sir.
But it goes back to what I said I think it was last time we talked about child abuse. We're spending so much money, we're just throwing money away. We need to retarget those funds to really have an impact on our society and the things that are really victimizing this society. And those areas, we don't have enough money. And the reason we don't have enough money, because we keep stupidly spending money on things that nobody sees any effect in. If a parent don't want their children vaping, that's their responsibility, raise your children. But when they get out there, and that's much more easy to manage than other types of vices that are detrimental to the health of not only their health, but also the welfare of those who are there around. And so that's my biggest concern, is we're just wasting so much money just so we can pat ourselves on the back and say we're doing something. We're not doing anything. We're making things worse.
This is a state initiative. It's a grant that we were eligible for, and so again, I understand where your frustration with the allocation of dollars is. This was just an effort of the Davidson County Health Department to also take funds that other agencies are using. And $3,750 is nothing to shake a stick at, but when you talk about targeting anti-youth smoking campaigns, it's not a lot of money. So billboards seem to be the biggest bang for our buck with those dollar amounts specifically directed to anti-smoking.
I understand that. Multiply that times 100 counties.
Oh, yes, sir. I understand.
We're being stupid with the money.
But at the same time.
It's not her. I mean, she's not doing it.
But at the same time, she didn't
No,
apply for this grant till we approved it. We approved it in January. This same board approved that.
What's it back on here for?
For the grant. We approved it, the acceptance.
To file for the grant.
To file for the grant, so she filed for
It
it.
wasn't made clear to me that that's what it was for. Or at least I don't remember it being that way. But it's not against you, Linda. It's not against the health department. It's all the health departments that's being called on to do this. And that money could really be used somewhere else.
This particular money can't be used someplace else.
It should be used somewhere else, I should say.
Should be is a different question altogether. But if you read the medical journals, since they come out with the no smoking, and they come out with a vape, the use of this vape is really accelerated tremendously. And it is, and according to the medical, has some inherent risk in it that are not recognized. So I think that we have gotten the grant. We approved the solicitation of the grant. Now we've got the grant. And I think that it is something that is positive, because smoking is a disease that causes, one of the only self-assisted suicides that you have, but it does cause cancer, has proven to cause cancer, and they don't know for a fact that vaping is going to be in the same situation. So anything that we can do to keep the youth in our county from starting to use or continuing to use, I think is a good expenditure of the money.
The only, I don't disagree with you at all, Commissioner McClure. What I'm saying is this. We've done it. We've spent a lot of money in trying to address opioid use and done no good with that money. It should be obvious to any person that all the money we're throwing at different avenues, that when you walk out on your front porch, you answer this. Are things getting better or are they getting worse? If they're getting worse, then we obviously are not doing something right. And we can't continue forward giving the public false hope that we're spending money responsibly and efficiently when the results are very clear. Things are getting worse. And we can continue down that path. It's the easy path to take. But sometime or another, a good board's going to stand up and say, we've had enough of this. It's time to make a change and let's finish it. Let's do it right. I mean, that's my point. and y'all vote for whatever, however you want to.
Not disagreeing with you at all, Commissioner Shell, on some of the issues that you raised, but there are many different issues that the board has to address. Opiate, is one of those, and it is a serious problem, and no one, national, state, or local, has the answer, to how to deal with this. So spending some money, sometimes is a way to find out what works and what doesn't work. So far as our county, we haven't spent an exorbitant amount of money on anything, because when we've tried to get a person approved to kind of combat the opiates, we were not able to do so. But this doesn't have anything to do with that. And child abuse, there is no bigger problem we got than child abuse, I don't think. And that with all of the other moral issues that we deal with, we gotta deal with those as well.
Amen.
But smoking is still one of the issues that we have to deal with. And the earlier people start smoking, teenagers, the more likely they are to contract cancer.
For clarification, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask, is this something that is a time-sensitive matter, or could maybe you go back to that person at the state and see if maybe you have some leniency to add some other stuff in it?
There are several options. The billboard was the one that we chose in Davidson County. I can absolutely go back to them if this isn't something that we want to do. It has to be spent by May 30th. And the reason that it's coming to y'all, yes, we approved the receipt of the money earlier. Y'all may remember we've, as Mr. Hill said, Jana Walker is the person who's in charge of this, and she's rather new in her position, so I wanted to give her the opportunity to research what was available, and the billboard seemed to be, as I said, the best bang for our buck to reach the most people. So we don't really, it's a stipulation that's set forth by the state. They divided the money up by the counties. Davidson County's portion was $3,750, and it's grant dollars from the tobacco branch specifically targeting youth use of tobacco. That's how this money is supposed to be spent.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Lillian, I apologize. I can't stand redundancy. So the fact that a board has approved this and it's being brought back, you was approved to go towards the grant. I don't think the grant's my issue. I think, if we could look into something else, but you do have a time frame, this a little tight. So I apologize about bringing that out, but we do have issues here in the county that we need to look at. And yes, we need to hold our state legislators a little, more closer to us to make sure that some of this money and some of these grants that are turned down the pike are actually going to some things that we're struggling with here at the county. And I think that everybody on this board, they care about young people, they care about the county, and they care about the drugs that's being brought in. I thank Sheriff Richie Simmons and all the work that he's doing, but I also thank the commissioners and what they've done in the past. And I really believe that we're gonna take a good step forward and try to get this taken care of. And saying that, thank you for bringing this forward, and I appreciate your work that you do.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, considering what's been discussed here, is it outside the realm of acceptance that Lillian says that she can go back and look and see what the different options, and bring it back to the board the next meeting, and to see
When's
if
the
there's...
next meeting?
Debbie, when's our next?
May 14th.
That's the next one, and we've gotta have it done by when?
We have to spend the money by May 30th.
Does that give you enough time, if it's approved by the 14th, to spend the money?
I can do my very level best.
I thought you
Would it be better if we did it during the, Thursday morning meeting, if it's time sensitive?
May
Yeah.
2nd, we would, she'd
Let's
have
do
to
it
have
on the May
something by
2nd meeting
the
then.
end of
That'll give her a little bit more time.
They give you enough time?
Can the money be approved, the grant be approved, and then let her now to sometime in May?
I'm double checking, and I've looked back in the 22nd meeting. I actually just emailed Janie. I don't see where that item was on there. It says it was approved, and I remember talking to Janie Ainge, who works for Lillian. According to her, we have already received the funds, and those would have been approved. What you will be approving tonight is the agreement to use the billboard.
So we already have the money.
Oh, so we got the money
So the
approved.
money technically is here, been approved. What we're approving tonight is the use of moving on with the funds to use the billboard.
So the initial approval was not for a billboard, it's
I
for the
can't
funds.
find, I'm looking and I cannot find inside any of the budget amendments where we where that was in there, so I
It
can't
was not
confirm.
in there, and that's why y'all got it tonight. I
Right.
spoke with Zeb about this, and he said.
I'll take the hit for that. I wanted to make sure that y'all knew what the money was gonna be spent on, 'cause I know there's some strong feelings either way, and I felt it was safer. I didn't want you riding down the road and see that billboard and say, what the heck are we doing? I wanted y'all to be able to deliberate on that piece, so that one's on me. That's why I brought it back to this board for y'all to talk about.
So then that makes two approvals, and we need to approve the agreement to use the billboard and approve the use of the appropriating the funds, if that's the case. Because we have received them. They are here, but they just have not been appropriated to spend on this purpose yet.
Will the informational meeting, as Commissioner McClure suggested, be enough time for you to, sort of let us what our
I
options
will,
are?
yes, sir.
When we move forward.
Go ahead, sir.
As, the chairman has indicated, and as you just said, we could go ahead and approve the receipt of the money. And then.
We're gonna spend the money
The only
regardless.
thing that we would have would be what we gonna spend it on.
Can I ask a question, Casey? So we have the money, right?
Correct.
So we can put whatever we want on there as long as it's based in the parameters of how we got the money. So if
We
they
have
say
to-
it needs to be spent for
The grant's got
tobacco, we better put tobacco on there.
stipulations with it, so you're gonna have to use it for whatever they tell you.
That's right.
Now, she's gonna have to call them and work through maybe some other different types of uses has been discussed tonight, but appropriating the money to spend by this board sets that part of it in motion, in other
Okay.
words.
Wait, I have a quick question.
All right.
Well, let's just clarify. It must say, be an announcement about vaping.
No, ma'am.
No.
I don't have the stipulations in front of me, but last year we also received the same grant. The reason that y'all got it so early and there was nothing tied to it was not us trying to not really figure it out. The money goes to our health director region. It's that Appalachian district. They take the money from the state. They then pass it through to all the health departments in the region. Davidson County is one of them. We had to let them know for their books, yes, we would take it. So that's what y'all did when you approved the receipt of the money. At that time, we had not gone through all the options. I do not believe that I think there are several different options. I do know one of my counterparts in their county, they're using the money to purchase it's a vaping detector. They have one high school that they're having a vaping issue with, so they're gonna put one. It's extremely expensive. It's one detector. It's gonna go in a restroom, and it's supposed to go off if the students are in the bathroom smoking a vape. So that is also a vape spending item, but there's no stipulation that says vaping. It is to try to stop youth from using tobacco and smokeless tobacco, anything like that.
In any way, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you
Thank
said
you.
7 reasons, would it be possible to send us those 7 so we could sort of look at them too?
Several. I don't know if,
Several,
no,
I'm
sir, I'm
sorry.
sorry, I may not have spoke clearly. If y'all would like to look at that, I would be happy to get that to y'all.
Look at what?
The options from the state. Mr. Willard, is the one that, manages that money, and they're the options that are laid out. And so then, when we pick our option, as we did with the billboard, we went back to him and then asked him, and then that's where the back and forth goes with Mr. Willard. But I'll be happy to get that for y'all, and, we can talk about it.
I'd
in
like to
May.
see it.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, I can't speak for the other.
Well, yeah, just
I'd like to see it.
give it to him. Is there anything else? We're going to,
Sounds like we're gonna
We need a
defer this off
motion.
until
We need a
next
motion to
meeting
put
in
that
May.
on Thursday.
You're gonna put it on the Thursday morning meeting?
on the May the
Assuming
second.
Lillian can get us some more information about it, I think. We're gonna continue the
Do
discussion.
we need a motion? If the motion will make it.
I'll second that motion.
And that's, what, May the second?
Yes,
You said?
I think so, isn't it?
We got a motion and a second to put this on the,
I believe so.
May the second.
verbally, right, Debbie?
We can do it
Need a
later,
motion.
that's fine.
You ready?
All right, you'll cast your
That
vote.
would give us some time to look up on Google about all the vaping stuff and find out a bit more information.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries to put it on for the May second meeting, 7:00.
Okay, that ends consent. Next item on the agenda is our deliberations. Our first one is, and we got about 7 proclamations we wanna give out tonight. First proclamation is the Williams Syndrome Awareness, it's Williams Syndrome's Awareness Month, Commissioner Elliott will, lead this discussion and, read the proclamation.
So a proclamation, Williams Syndrome's Awareness Month. Whereas Williams Syndrome's is a rare genetic condition that is present at birth. It affects as many as 30,000 individuals in the United States and is characterized by medical and cognitive problems including cardiovascular disease, developmental delays, and learning disabilities. And whereas the Williams Syndromes Association, founded in 1982, is a nonprofit organization and the most comprehensive resource for people and families living with Williams Syndromes, as well as for doctors, researchers, and educators. Through its efforts from raising public awareness to funding critical new research and providing valuable information and support to families, the Williams Syndrome awareness has improved the quality of life and futures of those affected by Williams Syndromes. And whereas to generate awareness about Williams Syndrome and raise funding for critical Williams Syndromes awareness programs and initiatives, the Williams Syndromes Association has organized May as Williams Syndromes Awareness Month, which includes events all across the United States of America. And whereas the Williams Syndromes Association and the families and friends of those with Williams Syndrome should be commended for their hard work, compassion, and courage for education and spreading the word about this rare condition. And now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 2019 as Williams Syndrome Awareness Month in Davidson County, this 23rd day of April 2019. I would like to thank everybody for being here, but this means a lot to me because my son sitting back there, Mason Elliott, has Williams Syndromes. And then also Ashley Hicks Carroll. If I could get Ashley and Shannon and both of y'all to come up with Mason.
Listen, before we go down there, let's vote, please.
Yeah, let's vote.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion and a second to approve.
I'm excited, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I don't blame you. I'd be excited
Amen.
too, young man.
All right, if you'll cast your vote.
And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay.
I can't tell you what an honor this is, Jim and Blake. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Are you gonna have him come up front, Chris?
Yes.
Three, two, one. One more. 3, 2, 1. Good job. Thank you. Ashley, she's ready to go home.
Bless her heart.
I want to say that same thing sometimes.
Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Barbecue Capital Cook-Off, weekend. And, Mr. McClure or Zeb, who, are you gonna say something first?
Yeah, we have Rebecca McGee here. This weekend we got the Capitol Barbecue Cook-Off. This is the 8th one, I think, Rebecca. And so they have requested us that we proclaim this weekend Barbecue Capital Cook-Off Weekend. And so I'll turn it back to the board.
Turn it back over to Mr. McClure.
All right. The proclamation for the Barbecue Capital Cook-Off Weekend, whereas the city of Lexington, county seat of Davidson County, has been designated by the North Carolina House of Representatives as the Hickory Cook Barbecue Capital of Piedmont, North Carolina, and whereas 2019 marks the 8th annual celebration of the Barbecue Capital Cook-Off, sponsored by Uptown Lexington Incorporated in Lexington, North Carolina. in recognition of the heritage of Lexington-style barbecue that is known worldwide. And whereas the 8th Annual Barbecue Capital Cook-Off is scheduled for Friday, April 26th, 2019, Saturday, April 27th, 2019. And whereas the 8th Annual Barbecue Capital Cook-Off will bring together competitors from across the nation to vie for winning titles in poultry, beef brisket, pork shoulder, pork rib categories, and the cooks involved in the competition, based on their performance, will qualify to compete on a national level in the Kansas City Royal Cook-Off in Kansas City, Missouri. And it will be entered into a drawing to compete with the Jack Daniels Invitational. Whereas tourism and barbecue have been identified as economic drivers for Lexington and Davidson County, and a competition of this nature attracts teams and attendees from all over the country and internationally as a result of the appeal of Lexington-style barbecue, media coverage, family-friendly activities, and respected reputation for sanctioned competition barbecue. And whereas proceeds from this competition will be reinvested into the community through the programs of Uptown Lexington, Inc., a North Carolina Main Street program. Whereas while in the heart of Lexington, Davidson County, North Carolina, attendees to the Barbecue Capital Cook-Off can visit our barbecue restaurants where the renowned heritage of slow-cooking pork shoulders over hickory is still alive and well as visit the unique shops within walking distance of the festival that bring the best of the past into the present. Now therefore be it resolved that the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 26, 2019 through April 27, 2019 as Barbecue Capital Cook-Off Weekend. And we encourage all citizens to participate in and enjoy the event scheduled in celebration of the Barbecue Capital Cook-Off's 8th annual competition and prepare for the thousands of barbecue fans who will converge on the city of Lexington and Davidson County on the 26th and 27th of April 2019. This the 23rd day of April. We approve that. Make a motion that we do so.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion second, if you cast your vote.
We'll also tell you that in a recent advertisement, barbecue brisket has been found to be good for your health.
The votes are in, and that motion also carries 7-0.
Okay, Rebecca, if you'll come around.
Tell us about the Clydesdales. Are they coming to town?
They're here.
Are they here?
Awesome. Get over here, you don't get away that easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's my boy. You can tell them
You
about
wanna
the
say something?
Clydesdales while you're moving.
Say something. I'm not giving it to you until you finish.
I want to thank y'all for this proclamation this evening. We are really excited to be bringing back the cook-off after having to cancel it this past year. So we're going with a theme, Rising from the Ashes. You'll see the phoenix throughout our advertising and marketing, and we are super excited. One of our main attractions this year, as Todd mentioned, is the Budweiser Clydesdales. They are here. They came in late yesterday afternoon. We will have them on site Friday from 5 to 7, and then Saturday from 2 to 4. They will be traveling from where they are staying and going up Main Street, a kind of a parade for pictures. We want to get them in front of the old courthouse, and going to hopefully have that area free of any cars during the time that they're coming through. And we've had a lot of buzz about it. We hope that y'all are able to make it. You have received invitations to our sponsor and welcome dinner, which is Friday, 5:30 to 7 at the Historic Freight Depot, and we hope you all can attend. Do you have any questions about the event?
Well, I wanted to say one thing. Our county crest, it's in Latin, but it means strive out of ashes. So your phoenix and out of the ashes actually has a lot of meaning since 1822 with our county.
We have about 45 teams that will be here. They're slowly coming in tomorrow and Friday, and that's about on par for what we've done in the past. So we have competitors and the locals that are really excited that we were bringing this back. Many of them thought that we would cancel it after the fire, and so we have a lot of excitement. We hope that means a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, coincidence that we use the exact phrase and then
That's awesome.
Rising out of the ashes.
3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Special thing Thursday for us at the fairgrounds to go over there.
Our next item's a proclamation for National Day of Prayer. And, Vice Chairman Steve Shield will, handle this proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to do so. Right before I read this, I think it's relevant. 2 Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, who are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear their prayer from heaven, and I will heal their land. Whereas civic prayer and national days of prayer have a long and venerable history in our constitutional republic, dating back to the First Continental Congress in 1775. And whereas the Declaration of Independence, our first statement as Americans of national purpose and identity, made the laws of nature and nature's God the foundation of the United States of America, and asserted that people have inalienable rights that are God-given, and whereas the Supreme Court has affirmed the right of state legislators to open their session with prayer, and the Supreme Court and the United States Congress themselves begin each day with prayer, and whereas in 1988, legislation set inside the first Thursday in May in each year as a National Day of Prayer was passed unanimously by both houses of Congress and signed by President Ronald Reagan, and whereas the National Day of Prayer is an opportunity for Americans of all faiths to join in united prayer, to acknowledge our dependence on God, to give thanks for blessings received, to request healing for wounds endured, and to ask God to guide our leaders and bring wholeness to the United States and her citizens. And whereas it is fitting and proper to give thanks to God by observing a day of prayer in Davidson County, when all may acknowledge our blessings and express gratitude for them, while recognizing the needs for strengthening religious and moral values in our state and nation. And whereas the 68th Annual National Day of Prayer will take place on Thursday, May the 2nd, 2019, where millions will unite in prayer at thousands of events from coast to coast. Whereas the theme for 2019 is love one another. Now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners for Davidson County, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May the 2nd, 2019, to be designated as a day of prayer in Davidson County, and encourage the citizens of Davidson County to observe the day in ways appropriate to its importance and significance, adopted this 23rd day of April, 2019, Mr. Chairman.
All right, that's the proclamation for the National Day of Prayer. Is that a motion?
May I have a motion? I'll second the motion.
You got a second? So if you cast your vote to approve this proclamation.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
So Connie Snyder, now if you'll come on around and you'll present to her. He's gonna come around.
Can I say, it's an honor because we are one nation under God, and thank you for the proclamation. Thank you very much. Three, two, one. More. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Moving right along with the proclamation, we got the Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, proclamation, and Mr. Crotts, Zach will lead this off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think several of us have, ridden motorcycles. I know I have in the past.
I did one time.
I keep talking about getting another one, and my family keeps telling me no. But, it is an important thing. The proclamation reads, whereas motorcycle riding is a popular form of recreation and transportation for thousands of citizens across North Carolina and the United States, and whereas North Carolina has over 179,000 registered motorcycles and over 443,000 licensed drivers who have their motorcycle endorsement or a motorcycle learner's permit according to the Division of Motor Vehicles, and whereas it is important for the citizens of North Carolina to be aware of motorcycles on our roadways and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety and for sharing the roadways, and whereas the safe operation of a motorcycle is enhanced through a combination of rider education and training, experience, highly visible safety gear including a compliant helmet, good judgment, and knowledge of traffic laws and licensing requirements. And whereas several organizations such as Davidson County Concerned Bikers, along with North Carolina Motorcycle Safety Education Program, and other state and local motorcycle clubs and riding social clubs are committed to increasing the safety operation of motorcycles by promoting rider safety education programs. And whereas May is traditionally observed as a time to remind and encourage other motorcycle vehicle operators to be cautious and observe motorcycles, especially during their seasonal return to the streets and highways. And whereas it is the goal of these organizations to alert the motorists of Davidson County and municipalities to look twice and save a life. And whereas Motorcycle Awareness Month is designed to increase public awareness about motorcycles and to encourage their safe and proper use among motorcycle riders. Now therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Motorcycle Awareness Month in Davidson County, North Carolina, and urge all citizens to call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. This, the 23rd day of April 2019.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve this proclamation? Motorcycle Awareness Month.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Got a motion second, if you'll cast your vote on this proclamation. Is someone here to accept this proclamation, do you know?
Mr. Everhart usually does that, but I don't see him here. Is there anybody here that,
He sent an email to us via the website yesterday. I know there's been years in the past that his health has precluded him from coming up, but he's always tried to make sure that it was on the agenda to get approved.
Okay, we'll get it to him or to the proper person.
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, item D is the proclamation for Foster Care Month. And, Commissioner Karen Wadford will, read this, proclamation.
Thank you, sir. Whereas children are key to our community's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, and whereas children have a right to thrive, learn, and grow in a safe and loving environment, and whereas foster parents provide the love, safety, and stability that children need in order to overcome past traumatic experiences in order to reach their full potential. And whereas Davidson County foster parents are caring for and nurturing more than 201 children and youth in foster care today. And whereas we must come together as a community to recognize the important role foster parents play in caring for children who have experienced abuse and neglect, supporting family reunification, and building strong communities. And whereas there is always a need for more foster parents in order to ensure children, especially older youth children with complex needs and siblings, have a safe, stable home in their community. And whereas there are numerous individuals, nonprofit organizations, and public servants who are dedicated to raising awareness about the needs of children and youth in foster care. And whereas through partnerships with families, child welfare staff, and public and private agencies, there is a collaborative effort to ensure that children are supported and successful. Now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 as Foster Care Month in Davidson County.
Okay, is that a motion to approve that proclamation? Do I have a second? We got a second, so if you cast your vote for this proclamation. Dale, if you'll come around with your group.
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
I don't know who would be against you, know.
About the informational. Dale?
Yates, would you like to come in?
Yeah, that'd be good.
This way. She did, didn't she?
You get my big head in there? Nope. I have to move over to get it.
There we go, got everyone in. Good. 3, 2, 1. See one more. 3, 2, 1. Good.
I think she's trying to squeeze this right here all in.
Yeah, she did.
Podium's yours now.
Aaron, Todd, thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Just want to thank you for your support for the work our agency does, and especially for supporting our efforts at providing foster care for kids in our community. So 201 children at that point. That was at the time I turned the proclamation in to the clerk. That actually has fortunately come down. I think it was 195 that we presented to the DSS board. So we found permanency for 6 of those children, and we hope we don't have another record month. We ended up taking custody of 19 children in the month of March. We hope to never break that record again. But I do want to just bring this to your attention. With May being Foster Care Awareness Month, we have another class to train potential foster parents that'll start up on May the 23rd, which will be an informational session there. They just need to contact us here at our office at the Department of Social Services. And if there are folks that want to mention this or have handouts to put in their church bulletins this month coming up in May, we would love to do that as well. And we would actually have somebody to come out and speak to the area churches as well. We'd love to partner up with the congregations to try to provide a safe, loving place for children here in Davidson County in our efforts to provide them safety then and efforts to reunify those families. And one of the best things I get to do in my work here with the department is to be able to get kids back into a safe, loving environment, whether it be their home, whether it be an adoptive home, if that's how it works out. But I just thank you again for your support for our agency.
Thank you, Dave.
Dale, got one thing to say, and I'm not ashamed to say this. As a person who grew up, part of my growing up years in foster homes, I know the importance. Well, you really want to reduce the opioid epidemic, then give those kids new hope, a new beginning. Don't leave in those dangerous environments. That's the reason I'm so passionate about making sure that our money is being spent in areas that we will reap the rewards of. Thank you for what you do and what the DSS people do.
Okay, moving right along. Older Americans Month, proclamation. Mr. Yates, if you'll.
All right. Debbie, I appreciate the large font on this one, okay? Older American Month 2019 proclamation. Whereas Davidson County includes a growing number of older Americans who enrich our community through their diverse life experiences. And whereas Davidson County is committed to strengthening our community by connecting with the supporter older adults, their families, caregivers, and acknowledging their many valuable contributions to society. And whereas Davidson County recognizes the importance of bringing together all generations and engaging in activities that promote physical, mental, and emotional well-being for the benefit of all. And whereas the Davidson County can enhance the life of older Americans in our community by promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, involving older adults in community events and other activities, and providing opportunities for older adults to work, volunteer, learn, lead, and mentor. Now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners of Davidson County, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 2019 to be Older American Month. We urge every resident to take time during this month to recognize older adults and the people who serve them as essential and valuable members of our community this 23rd day of April 2019.
You have a motion to approve this, proclamation.
I'll make a
Move.
Is there a second?
second.
Okay, if you cast your vote. Cameron here?
I thought I was giving this one to myself.
And that motion carries 7-0.
Cameron, I know you've got some things to say also.
He can say it after I sit down.
There we go.
3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Honorable Board. Each year, more and more older adults are making a positive impact in and around Davidson County. As volunteers, employees, employers, educators, mentors, advocates, and more, they offer insight and experience that benefit the entire community. That's why Older Americans Month has been recognizing the contributions of this growing population for 56 years. This year's Older Americans Month theme, Connect, Create, Contribute, encourages older adults in their communities to connect with friends, family, local services, and resources, create through activities that promote learning, health, and personal enrichment, contribute time, talent, and life experience to benefit others. Davidson County Department of Senior Services celebrates Older Americans Month by promoting ways that community members of all ages can take part in helping Davidson County thrive. Communities that support and recognize older adults are stronger. We thank you for joining us in strengthening our community this May and throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our last proclamation will be the Public Service Recognition Week, and Zeb, you wanna say something?
I'll take it. We would like to request a proclamation recognizing Public Servant Week, public service. It's May 5th through May 11th. You know, you've seen a lot of proclamations for various departments here tonight. Like I said, we have 26 departments, and we do a lot of things. A lot of things people don't realize we do, but our job is to help the citizens of this county. A lot of times we see people in their worst, and a lot of times hopefully we're there to help them. And so I would humbly request that the board approve this so that we can send it out to our employees and thank them for what they do for us. So,
Thank you, Zeb. And the proclamation reads, in honor of the millions of public employees of the federal, state, county, and city levels, whereas Americans are served every single day by public servants at the federal, state, county, and city levels. These unsung heroes do the work that keeps our nation working, whereas public employees take the only jobs, but not only take the jobs, but they take the oaths. Whereas many public servants, including military personnel, police officers, firefighters, border patrol officers, embassy employees, healthcare professionals, and others risk their lives each day in service to the people of the United States and around the world. Whereas public servants include local government employees, state employees, teachers, doctors, and scientists, train conductors and astronauts, nurses, and safety inspectors, laborers, computer technicians, and social workers, and countless other occupations. Day in and day out, they provide the diverse service demands by the American people at their government with efficiency and integrity. Whereas without these public servants at every level, continuity would be impossible in the democratic that regularly changes in leaders and elected officials. Now therefore we, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners, do hereby announce and proclaim to all citizens and set the seal herein that May the 5th, 2019 through May the 11th, 2019 is Public Service Recognition Week. All citizens are encouraged to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of government employees at all levels, federal, state, county, and city. This is the 21st day of April, 2019. And I'll make a motion that we approve this proclamation. Do I have a second?
No, second.
Well, I made a motion. If you cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Kathy here.
She's back in the back.
Also, as part of that motion that we just approved, we're asking staff to give a copy of this to every county employee that we have.
That's awesome.
Make sure I get one, Kathy.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
You know my mailing address.
So I'd like to thank you very much. This is an honor. I've been here almost 2 years, and I have to say, we have some very hardworking people in this county. People who see, as Zeb stated, a lot of things every day, a lot of things that are sometimes difficult to deal with and to get past, and they just keep chugging right along. We have some people who've been here a very long time, very dedicated to this county, and I'm proud. I'm proud to be working here, and I'm proud to be living in Davidson County, so thank you very much.
Thank you for what you do.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'd like to thank the staff, I'd like to thank, Zeb, Chuck, Casey, Debbie. We've got a lot of individuals here. We've got our, Clerk of Court, Sandy Chapel. We've got our Senator, Eddie Gallimore, out in the audience. A lot of people here, but I would like to turn to the board. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for helping me out and, being there when you have questions, the calls late at night, the citizens. Y'all are true humbled servants, and the people you put in charge as far as the directors and the staff that we have here at the county is second to none, and I say second to none. We have a tremendous staff, and they all deserve applause, and I thank you for this proclamation, Zeb. Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's all the proclamations. Now we got a resolution in support of House Bill 724.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Crotch will take this.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 724 identifies unwanted robocalls. I found this out, and I talked to the clerk about maybe doing a resolution in support of it. I am going to ask that we change one thing at the very end, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman, when I get to that point. I'll read it. Whereas House Bill 724 was filed on April 11th, 2019, and whereas House Bill 724 is entitled, "A Bill to be entitled, an act to prohibit the use of misleading telephone identification methods of telephone solicitations And whereas House Bill 724 sets out that no telephone solicitor shall cause misleading information to be transmitted to users of caller identification technologies or otherwise block or misrepresent the origin of the telephone solicitation. And whereas House Bill 724 is scheduled to become effective December 1st, 2019 if it is ratified, and whereas most, if not all, citizens of Davidson County, the state of North Carolina, and the United States are regularly inundated with calls from local telephone numbers, then end up being unwanted robocalls, and whereas many of these individuals are called while at work and answer the calls because either it is mandatory that calls be answered or is felt they are legitimate, which interrupts workflow and productivity, causing hindrance on our economy. And whereas Davidson County urges the General Assembly to take a proactive approach to ending these unsolicited robocalls by ending their ability to use misleading information regarding the origin of the telephone solicitation. Now there it be resolved that the Davidson County Board of Commissioners hereby request that the General Assembly vote in support of House Bill 724 and or its contents. Where I would like to add is if we could do at the very end that it be sent to all 13 U.S. House Representatives and the 2 U.S. Senators and ask that the federal government do the same thing. And I would like to
That's
make
part
that
of his
motion.
motion, I'll second it.
Okay,
Now, if
got
the
a
federal
motion?
government and the state can do that, we've got something going on.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to approve this, resolution. You cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
I climbed down off a ladder 4 times today.
To answer
How did you get them to
Right.
reduce it down to that much? That's what I
Well,
want
that's
to know.
just how many times I climbed off that ladder.
Well, I mean, you know, people like me that we use our phones for work and you don't, it looks like a local number and you answer it and then it's somebody that's not even in the United States. It has become ridiculous and I do honestly believe it is a hindrance on our economy and I would love for our governments to come together and fix our issue because it's not just us, it's senior citizens, it's scammers, it's people affecting our citizens, and it's just time to see the government come together and fix a problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for the board for approving this resolution.
Okay, our next item is approval of the lease for the courthouse, personnel. Zeb, will you,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, at your place, you know, we found places for everybody within the courthouse, but the judges. And so this lease here is for the district court judges. This lease is a little bit different than the lease we approved the last time for the Superior Court judges in the fact that the utilities are included in the cost of the lease. And, Ms. Hart, who owns the building, said that the utilities on the building is about $400 or $500 a month.
Is that Charlie's old building?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that should house all the district court judges, and we should be able to, I think, microwave across instead of having to cable it to run internet over to it. This is during the time that we're under construction so that they'll have a place to go.
any question for Zeb or any questions, concerning the lease?
Mr. Chairman, the landlord has received the proposed lease that we drafted, but has not approved it at this point. So I would just ask if the board would allow us some flexibility in the event that there are small changes to be made, that we could, the county manager could approve those without the need to come back before the board.
Okay. Does everyone understand that? We can have a motion to approve this lease.
I'll make a motion.
And, with the, staff being able to make the
County manager.
changes. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I've got a motion second, if you'll cast your vote.
I didn't think we'd ever pay, less for the Superior Court judges than we do.
Well, there's more of them, that's
It's a lot bigger footprint, Mr. Hart.
Twice as many, yeah. He's got a nice office over there.
And so many furniture.
But you want that.
I'm thinking all his furniture in there as well.
Yeah.
All of the motions in, and that motion carries 7-0.
And that ends, all our deliberations. The only thing out for public hearings left is anyone here that, was looking for something that they didn't find while we was on? Okay, we just see people there that are still waiting, and we'll pass some things, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So I just wanna make sure they know that everything's through except the public hearings. Okay, we're going into public hearings now. And our first public hearing, is Guy here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. First public hearing is the surface source building reuse grant, closeout. This will be Casey.
Mr. Chairman, I'll take this one. I'll take these first two.
Okay.
If you'll remember back in 2014, or some of you were on the board then, we've got from North Carolina Rural Infrastructure Authority, we were approved $400,000 in a CDBG loan, for Project Surface Source. Forgiveness of the loan was contingent upon the company creating 20 jobs, with 60% of those benefiting low to moderate income persons by January 23rd, 2017. The board got an extension to January 23rd, 2019, subsequently a few years later, or back in November 2017. The company only created 12 out of 20 jobs, and at the last board meeting, we went ahead and had a budget amendment to appropriate the payback piece to the state for the building reuse grant jobs that did not get created, which was $80,000. That's been taken care of. What you're doing tonight is setting in motion the closeout of this grant and the closeout of this project with the state of North Carolina. So Michael Walser's here, who's our grant administrator for our CDBG grants, if you've got any questions. But that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so the public hearing declared open. Is there anyone here that wants to speak, in favor or in opposition to the grant closeout?
I want to expedite tonight's proceedings.
Barney W. Hill.
That's me.
Okay.
Let the minutes reflect that I addressed agenda items 7 Alpha and 7 Bravo at the same time. The April 10th letter attached to item 7B gives you the go-ahead to prepare and submit the, quote, closeout documentation, unquote, but no such documentation was included with item 7B. Item 7A didn't even have a letter attached. What should have been is what Mr. Smith just went over with you there. It should have been in the packet. This is the first time I can remember having two CDBG closeouts on the same agenda. I usually quote from John 8:11, Jesus' admonition to the woman taken in adultery, to, quote, go and sin no more, unquote. But an agenda item that you've already approved tonight, item 8, Charlie, indicates that you already have formed an intention to go and sin some more. Once the chairman convenes that generic public hearing, the only obstacle to another specific public hearing will disappear, evaporate. If the agenda order had stayed in its original form, sequence, I was going to ask you to remove item 8C from the consent agenda so that the two new commissioners could explain why they agree with the rest of you, if they agree with the rest of you, that there is nothing to fear from the CDBG program. I believe that the CDBG program is a dangerous trap, and I would be delighted to defend that position anytime you let me.
Okay, is anyone that'd like to speak in favor or against this, closeout? Seeing no others, I declare the public hearing closed. Return it to the board, any discussion? Not, can I have a motion and a second to approve this closeout? Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion second to approve this, surface source building closeout. If you cast your vote.
Didn't we pay this off? Didn't we just pay this one off? That's what I was thinking.
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
All right, our next public hearing is the I-85 Corporate Center CDBG grant closeout. Public hearing is open, Casey.
Mr. Chairman, this is a monumental occasion here. This grant was awarded to the county, I think, in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Right around the time I got here, for $7 million for the county to start. At that time, it's industrial park located off I-85. It was just a field with nothing in it and $7 million dream. We're here today because we're going to close out this grant. As you know, a few meetings ago, you all approved the appropriation to pay back the loan, so that way we forego several $100,000 worth of interest. And this process will begin same as before, the surface source, closing out this grant project. So I think the members of that committee as well, Mr. Yates, Michelle, who else is on that committee? Ms. Wofford. You all be commended. The folks that come before you, Representative Potts, Commissioner Jarvis, folks put in a lot of work. That committee is a lot of work. And we're doing something unprecedented. We're doing it in-house, which is amazing. So you all ought to be commended.
We're saving money.
Save money as well. It's a good day when we do all those things at one time, so I think everybody ought to be fairly happy.
Public hearing is now open to the public. Is there anyone to speak in favor or in opposition to this grant closeout? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Can I have a motion and a second to approve this closeout of the CDBG grant project?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second, cast your vote.
So happy to see stuff being paid off earlier.
All of the votes are in,
Build up the rest of that part.
and that motion carries 7-0.
Okay. The next item is the rezoning request of James Cross in Emmons Township, let our guys get in place.
Give us just 1 minute.
Here it is.
What is that plant right there? Okay, the first rezoning application we have tonight is a request by James Cross to rezone a portion of property located in Emmons Township, tax map 13, being a portion of lot 4, containing approximately 1.006 acres and more or less, and the property is located at the southwestern corner of the intersection of East Old Highway 64 and Old Highway 109. Rezoning is requested to change from RA2, Rural Agricultural District, to CURC, Conditional Use
Rural Commercial District. The property owner of record is Robert E. Lee Black. Mr. Black has also signed the application in support of the rezoning request. Mr. Cross is here. What he intends to use the property that you see crosshatched there on your zoning map is he'd like to have a used car sales lot at that location. If you're very familiar of the intersection, you have probably seen cars located on this through the years. Mr. Cross has had himself one or two cars over the last 15 years that he has actually sold there. But this is a quasi-judicial procedure, so it's probably wise, Mr. Chairman, to go ahead and let's swear in anyone that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition. And I believe Mr. Hill wants to be affirmed.
Okay, anyone that's gonna speak at this, come up to be sworn.
Mr. Chairman, you gonna swear them in? I think you've got the card up there.
Okay. Okay, if you'll,
Cause right there it's old 64 and 109.
got your right hand up. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I
Yes.
do.
Okay, Mr. Hill, do you affirm that the testimony that you are about to give, if any, will be the truth, nothing but the truth, that there is only one who can know the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cross, if you'd like to tell the board exactly what you want to do with your property.
As already has been said, I've been selling cars from that location for about 15 years, one or two at a time, usually one at a time. And that corner is traditionally a place where you find a lot of trash. And when I put a car over there, it's very common for me to spend an hour out there just cleaning up that corner, so that my cars don't look like I'm a trashy guy. Okay, and so we're trying. What I want to do is to have a very small car business there, a very clean, a very neat car business there. We've specifically said we'll never have more than 15 cars, and I don't expect to get there. I'm thinking 8 cars at a time. I mean, I'm 71 years old, and I'm ready to slow down. I've been a real estate agent. I'm a North Carolina broker, real estate broker at this time, and so I'm familiar with the community. I'm familiar with the needs of the community. I want y'all to know right from the get-go. Oh, by the way, there won't be any junk cars. There won't be any facility to repair junk cars or any cars. We won't have a facility for that. We will put up a nice building, small building, very small building, but I've got a little brochure here that shows the type of thing, if anybody wants to see that.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
It can't be this very thing, by the way. It cannot be this very thing because this doesn't meet North Carolina. I just wanted to give you a picture of what I'd like to have in that corner. Something small.
It's nice.
That's a nice little building for my business life.
Oh, yeah.
Could y'all decide, if you hear negatives on this and you decide in my favor, I want you to know I want to meet one-on-one with anybody who would like to meet with me and share with me their concerns. Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's my intention, y'all. I I want to love my neighbors by putting out good cars. I'm not talking about real expensive cars. I'm not talking about junk cars. I'm talking about my cars are generally somewhere in the $4,000 to $8,000 range. Once in a while, I mean, very rarely I'll have a more expensive car. Sometimes I'll have a little bit less expensive car, but generally, that's what I'm looking for. But I would be happy to meet one-on-one. Should y'all decide, I just want this to be said publicly, should y'all decide in my favor, and there's anybody that's got a concern that lives close and wants to talk with me one-on-one, I would love to try to alleviate any fears, any concerns, any doubts. I look forward to having a business there that represents, may I say, I want to represent my Father in heaven with a business there that looks appropriate. And I hope that's not offensive to anyone.
Are there any questions for Mr.?
I don't have any, Mr. Chairman.
Where is the entrance and exit gonna be, on both roads?
Yes, I intend to have a drive coming in off of both roads unless DOT has requirements that are so expensive that I could really only afford one.
Yeah, he'll have to apply for a commercial driveway permit, from the district office, and they'll come out there, and usually it's gonna be, 200 feet from that intersection, so it should be back in this area here from that intersection if he wants to have it on the
Be
old.
far enough back, it's not gonna interfere with school traffic.
Exactly. They'll take all that into consideration.
Set across the road.
That is the, old Silver, Valley Fire Department, and, I did talk with the, owner of that building, and she, has some future plans to, possibly bring that in for a rezoning for an event center for the area. It's currently being used for storage right now. It's all that it is. We've had some interest in the past of trying to get that building, rezoned, but, it hadn't come to fruition yet. But, you have McClure's, which is just right down the, highway there that where they have sold dog food and agricultural supplies in the past. It's on the north side of Old Highway 64 there. And then, of course, you've got the school at this intersection. But this property has also had a lot of produce stands on it in the past. People have used it for that. And he is correct. We have had calls of folks trashing it up, so we've had to get the property owner to get it cleaned up. It's kind of swampy, kind of a low area right there, and I think this will probably give the property some purpose and some use.
Definitely gonna be an improvement.
Improvement, yes, sir. That's what I was
I'd
trying
like
to get
to tell
at.
you that I'm intending to take control of that whole 6 acres right there. I probably will not buy it immediately, but Robert Black and I have been working together for years. I mean, I've been paying him for the right to put a car there for years. And we have negotiated a price, whatnot, but what I'm intending to do is spend a year in business there before I turn loose of enough dollars to buy 6 acres. But the rest of the 6 acres, we're not asking to be changed. That'll still be, what is it, R2?
RA2 is what it is now.
Yeah. So we intend that to stay the same. It's not a lot that you could really build much on, without a lot of expense. So there are a couple of places there, if they will perk, that could take a house on either road, on 64 and 109, but it'd be very expensive to do.
So it's a great location for sign placement when it's time to run for office. Yeah, Guy, do you have 200 feet back off the road on both directions?
Josh, you want to measure that and see?
I was not aware that we had to have that.
Well, I don't,
I
it'll
think
be
I
up
only
to
counted up
DOT,
like
but-
180 feet.
Yeah, you typically, have 200 feet, but I don't know that that's a
It's
hard.
not. If you don't have it, you don't have it. They
But there-
they probably won't give him a right of way in off of old 109. It'll probably be off of old 64. They probably won't even give you one off of,
They
That's
think
not a
you
real
have
concern
200
of
feet.
mine
Right.
as far as that's concerned.
Mine
I'm
either.
talking very small.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, you know, if there was a question about that, if we need to add more to it.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. If you
Okay,
want me to
well,
roll.
if you, we might call you back in a minute. We need to. Is anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in favor or in opposition to this rezoning request?
Yeah, I'm still Barney W. Hill. The staff recommendation and the board's statement of consistency were included in the agenda packet, but the planning board recommendation was missing. The applicant has done his homework. I would buy a used car from that man. He is making the best of what he has and has demonstrated that what he has there is more than meets the eye. The car lot is a, quote, generally accepted rural business establishment, unquote, under policy 5.6, because even though the neighborhood is rural, the people who live there don't ride horses to work. The inadequacy of the soil is actually an argument in favor of exactly what is being proposed. The already approved septic system will accommodate the 4 employees and a customer or 2 now and then, but not much more. Thus, the 15-car limitation is superfluous. The car lot won't become an after-hours magnet for vandalism because the applicant has a novel arrangement with some deputies. He gets unlimited professional babysitting for his vehicles. They get a base from which to ambush speeders. I'm glad that the staff is again making applicants aware of the conditional use option, but it's a shame that this applicant had to tie his hands in so many ways to placate the NIMBY faction. Placate me by approving the request.
Is anyone else who'd like to speak, in opposition or in favor of this, public hearing? Declare the public hearing closed to the audience and return it back to Guy.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, as a, conditional use, it's, what you need to do is first consider it as a, legislative, action, and, you have a number of policies in your land development plan, 5.4, 5.6, 1.7, and 1.8, all lend support of the proposed rezoning, for a rural commercial district. It's typically located where we'd want a commercial business at the intersection of 2 arterial streets, being Old Highway 64 and Old Highway 109. And so, at this time, staff is gonna recommend approval of this based on those, policies.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if you need a motion.
Yes, I'm ready for the motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve this gentleman's, request.
I'll happily second that.
So we got a motion and a second to approve this, rezoning request. See if you cast your vote.
Is the motion, as presented?
Yes.
Yeah.
And those will be consistent with the, statement of consistency that, runs parallel with your action there, so.
All of them opposed to one, and that motion carries 7-0.
Okay.
Conditional use petition will be verbally, if that would be okay.
Okay.
All right.
Guy, will you,
Yes, sir. You have certain required findings, that you need to be, conscious of, but, we have some conditions here, on the screen here. Number one, that the property will be used solely for automotive sales. No more than 15 vehicles will be displayed at any one time. There will be no more than 4 employees. The office building on site will not exceed 500 square feet. There will be no outside storage of junk or inoperable vehicles, tires, scrap, or junk materials on site. No banners or air-resistant advertisement on site. You must comply with the DOT regulations in all regards, and that's meaning to go get the commercial driveway permit. And any installed lighting must be directed onto the subject property and shall not spill onto any public road or right of way. So, with that, we feel like that those required findings, number one, that the development of the property in accordance with the proposed conditions will not materially endanger the public health, or safety. That the development of the property in accordance with the proposed conditions will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the development is a public necessity, and that the location and character of the development in accordance with proposed conditions will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the plan of development of the county and its environs. So with that, we would recommend that these conditions be approved.
yeah, why no banners or, advertisement on site? This is a car lot.
It is a car lot, but a
Ain't
lot
they
of
put for
times,
sale on there?
well, a lot of times you have these, flags waving and everything, and it's distracting as you come to a four-way stop. That intersection has a history of some traffic accidents in the past, and we thought by having that, it would not distract.
Well, wouldn't an air-resistant advertisement be his sign saying that his car lot was there, if it blocked the air?
Yeah, I think it's one of them things that blows
Yeah,
up there.
those, you know, those Gumby type,
Yeah, I
stick
look for them
figures that you
things.
see blowing in the, you know, those kind of things is what we have in mind.
I'd love for you to tell me how you can keep lighting from spilling over into the roadway.
Well,
I would interpret that as it's not pointed at the road, it's
Yes,
pointed
sir.
back towards the
Yes,
property.
Probably need to be saying that though, because
Well, it
somebody
says
wanted
pointed
to-
at the subject property.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he's pointing at subject property and spill over to the roadway.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
One of the gentlemen on the, planning board, was afraid that lighting could blind someone at that corner. The intention is just to make sure that you're driving on either one of those two roads, that my lighting would not in any way interfere with your ability to drive safely. I mean, that was the bottom line. If I understood it exactly, that's what it was.
That's correct.
Conditions look good to me, Mr. Chairman, if he's happy with them.
I tell you, he had me when he started
Okay.
quoting the Bible and said he's a car salesman. I'll buy one
I
from
would
him.
too.
Any more questions? Oh, it's verbally, all right.
I'll make a motion, we, approve the, conditions as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Did somebody already make a motion?
I thought you did.
No,
That was,
I said I would.
that was the first part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So put your car light up.
Yep, thank you.
Good job.
Good job. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we have a second rezoning. You have a request by Gary Williams Essick to rezone property in Thomasville Township, tax map 312, being a portion of lot 43A containing 2.01 acres more or less, Property is located on the west side of National Highway, approximately 32/100 of a mile north of the Hasty School Road intersection. Rezoning is requested to change from RA3 Rural Agricultural District to HC Highway Commercial District. The planning board did meet on on April the 2nd. It's not on your sheet here, but it was a unanimous decision, 5-0, to recommend approval to this request. The property owner of record is Phil Leonard and Kathy Leonard, and they did sign the application in support of the request. Mr. Gary Essick is here tonight to talk to the board about his proposed use of the property. This is a general district request, and I should say that it was actually amended. It was originally brought to us as a 2.01 acre tract, but at the planning board, it was amended to 1.03 acres.
Another amendment tonight, the surveys.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been changed then.
Okay, well, why don't you, introduce that?
Well, let's open the public hearing here, what do you say?
Yes, sir.
The public hearing's open, so, you're Mr. Essick?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead. So, basically what I've done already is bought the center piece there. It's a little under 3 acres, and, only about half of that will perk. So this piece, when purchased, slopes heavily down.
Do you want to show them with this?
Well, yes. Let's see here, this point.
Show them how to.
Oh, I see, got you. So about right here in this area is where the is where the property perks. I can't disturb that. This piece, I've had about 700 loads of dirt brought in, and I still need about 600 more. That dirt's ran out. I've purchased this piece about 5 years ago on the intentions that most of the dirt was available, and what was going to finish this piece out were several from the ball field in High Point, and then another location that they're working on by Ilderton Dodge, but that dirt was contaminated. So at this point, I was going to have to purchase dirt at market value, which is about $125 per load at 700 loads. That's quite a bit of money. So I met Mr. Leonard about buying this piece here and basically taking this in some areas is between 6 to 8 feet higher than National Highway. And for a third of the price, I can purchase this piece, grade these two together, and combine for one location. So what was on the map was 2.03, and we thought it was 1.03. Is actually the survey was completed today. We was hoping to have that done a week or two in advance, but since the weather's broke, these guys are very busy. I do have the current survey in hand, which will be recorded this week. It's 1.75.
So that's the area that you're.
Yes, that's the area. So what we'll do is clear this, grade from this point here, and the building's going to go about right here in this area here, and I'll have my sales and service. What I do is sales and service on Hondas and Acuras only. So the building that I'm building is a 70 by 150. So we'll have that in this area. We'll have about 25 to 30 cars on the front, and then I'll have this. Once we grade the two, it'll be pretty much level with National Highway, and I'll have enough space for 40 plus cars in inventory there, plus my service. So where I'm at now is just above. I'm in between the Kelly's gas station and the Midway Yamaha, and I've been there for 16 years. So I've needed to move for quite some time, but the dirt has been my problem for several years up until now. So that's why I'm proposing to get this piece rezoned so we can combine the two and continue on.
Lot 43B, which is the south lot, is already zoned highway commercial.
Yes.
But what he's purchasing is, I believe that's going to be, 43A, and or excuse me,
No, 43A is behind me. I'm purchasing, I'm not sure what that number there is.
let's
44, I
see.
guess? Part of that, yeah.
It's part of 43A.
Okay.
Okay. So it would be 1.75 acres.
Yes.
National Highway is recognized as a corridor of economic opportunity, and you also have, HC Highway Commercial directly across the road from this, location. And, you don't have public sewer, but you have public water, right?
Right.
You've also got it perked already. I just found, you said you work on Hondas?
Hondas and Acuras only.
Hondas and Acuras.
Mhm.
I just happened to see something on Facebook earlier today, and I thought it was kind of, permissible here, but, the last gentleman talked about, God and Jesus, and you're working on Hondas, and it, they say that Jesus drove a Honda, 'cause
That's
in
what
John, John 12:49a, it
I've
says,
seen
I did
that.
not speak of my own accord, so
Yep,
he
that's
must have
right.
drove one, right?
I've seen that.
Mr. Chairman, whenever you're ready, I see no problem with this, I'd like to move forward with it.
Gotta have against
Scored,
it,
I
yeah.
like that. That's pretty good.
Are there any questions for? Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
good to me.
Yeah.
We've got to open, but, does anyone want to speak in favor or against this, request? You know why he's coming up, Guy?
Yes,
Now-
sir.
Now, Phil Leonard still owns this, is that right?
Yes, I think he has a option to purchase, subject to the zoning being approved.
So if, for instance, if something happened, he didn't purchase it, does it revert back or is it still?
Well, it's gonna be zone commercial, it'll still be zone highway
Somebody asked
commercial.
for rezoning.
But Mr. Leonard has signed the application in favor of the
Okay.
request.
Okay, Barney W. Hill.
By the standard you have set, the applicant ought to be able to prevail on the contiguity to existing HC alone. But this proposal also exemplifies the policies on clustering, consolidation, non-encroachment, and across-the-street compatibility. Take your pick. I did want to say, on both of these tonight, Mr. Corman has mentioned that the property owner signed the application. I think that's a nice touch. It's sort of like earnest money. It lets you know the person is serious about it. I think it's a good policy to have, and I always wondered, why some of them signed and some of them didn't, and now I know, and I hope that continues. I'm very much in favor of the request.
Okay, I'll count that as a favor. Is anyone else that wants to speak for or against?
A motion.
Okay, I close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Guy?
Well, again, as Barney mentioned, there's several policies there, and we've included that in your consistency statement, and, we would recommend approval.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second to approve this request?
I make a motion to approve this request and adopt the consistency. What do you got? Resolution for consistency. Thank you, sorry. Trying to get us so excited about getting it done.
Have a second?
Second.
Cast your vote.
And Godspeed on your business, sir. Hope you do well. They run so good, you may not have a whole lot of business. I'm a Toyota guy, so.
Good job, buddy.
You got it.
They all run, you know, Honda and Toyota, all food. Them things will go a million
Got a
miles.
motion to go into closed session?
Yes, second.
Second?
Congrats.
Need a motion to,
Man, you faithful, ain't you? You can't get enough meetings. Oh, Lord.
Well, we already sent it in there,
Okay, now
you're
we're
good.
Hey, Chuck.
Not a problem,
These copies
anytime.
of these leases,
Yes,
do you want these put in the,
We have a motion and a second to
or you
go
want it back?
into open session. All in favor? Back in open session. Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, the, board considered a single matter in closed session with regard to, personnel. That was for informational and deliberative purposes only. There was no formal action taken by the board.
Okay, is any other thing come before the board tonight?
Just a motion adjourned.
Well, I wanna say, Senator, good to have you here. If I'd have saw you earlier, I'd have recognized you earlier. Good, good. Zeb won't leave,
Appreciate you coming. Really do.
so,
We've seen your picture around on Facebook, you're doing a good job. Doing a good
is
job.
anything?
I've reported, sir, I think
Okay.
there's a pending motion.
We got a motion
These,
to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
these leases you want?
We're